my magician Dr. S.K. Chandro, the other relevant people over here. I see some of my earlier students and definitely the budding graphotherapist of this institute. I feel extremely honored to act and to be invited and act as the chief guest of this bright program today. It seems somehow because of the positive vibrancy of all of the individuals who are present here regarding graphology, the program seems to have a specific glitter and glamour of its own. So definitely I'm being drawn towards it, but I have great doubts regarding my apt personality, whether it deserves such honor from this institute. Because the canvas of graphology seems to me to be written in Hebrew, the fundamental grammar and the basic nuances of how to deduce the inherent meanings of the personality, of the psyche of the individual from the handwriting is thoroughly unknown to me. But I do believe in the efficacy of this discipline to bring out its interpretative lens on the behavioral aspects because of Mr. Bose's presentation just before me, the examples and the cases that he has described, presented to us as in the form of an information that successful candidates are there who are working with graphology and they are successful in their individualistic endeavors. In addition to that, I do believe in its efficacy because of my little bit of exposures to graphological interpretations through the books that I have gone through, written by none other than Mr. Mohan Bose and Dr. S.K. Chandro. I also had the opportunity of discussing a few cases of Dr. Chandro. In those cases, he offered his graphological indicators being related to the specific problems of the given cases, and I added my psychoanalytical interpretations to them, which we too found to be in sync with each other. Additionally, I remember a particular incident in my life when I was very young, not this old lady like this today. I was in the admission process as a student in the honors course of psychology in Gokhale Memorial Girls College. And we were supposed to appear in a selective test in order to prove our eligibility to be the honors student in psychology. I wrote my script in the examination hall, and the next day, we all met, all the teachers of the department. Suddenly I found a gentleman whom I met for the first time, who was the then head of the department of psychology in Gokhale Memorial, Mr. Priyanshu Shekhar Bhattacharya. I think, but I'm not very sure, he was a close associate of Mr. Mohan Bose. Suddenly, he asked me, by any chance, your roll number is this? I said, yes, sir. And I was extremely worried. I thought I'd be chucked off from this honors course. But he didn't say anything after that. After 3 years, when I was coming out of that college with flying colors, the other teachers confirmed, so, sir, you are absolutely right. Because on the basis of my first script in psychology, he interpreted certain things graphologically which the teachers declared as successful prediction on his part. So I do have my respect towards graphology, and I consider Sir is the best teacher in my life. Yesterday, I was telling Mrs. Bhagat, my son's best teacher seems to be present here today. My son is Dr.Nilanjana Sanyal, and everywhere he moves with his lectures, he expresses his gratitude towards Mrs. Malini Bhagat as his best teacher. I'm very pleased that I could meet him today, along with my memories regarding Priyanshu Babu. The science is not therefore very really known to me, but definitely it carries some meaning in unfurling the psyche of the given individual. In today's research parlance, we do believe in the current trend of interdisciplinary approaches. Mr. Bosch was mentioning about this. Scientists believe that interdisciplinary approaches are being able to utilize the specific contents of analysis in order to probe an issue in great depth. In this respect, I consider graphology to be in proximity with psychology as a subject, neurosciences as another subject, and definitely fine arts. In fine arts, I consider painting and dance to be in relation with graphology, dance movement therapy. Because in painting also, the painters use the paint brushes, and the pressure of the fingers holding the paint brushes are responsible for producing the typical expression that they want to produce on the canvas. So it must be having its relation with graphology. In dance movement context, the teacher definitely teaches a bunch of students together, but the expression of dance of all the students are very, very personally stylized. The difference in the movements of different parts of the body has got something to do with graphological movements in handwriting. So the interdisciplinary approach where graphology is being taken into consideration by other sciences are proved to be very, very effective, no doubt about it. In psychology, we talk about three categories of primary mental processes: cognition, that is intellectual abilities; affection, the feeling and emotive abilities; and conation, or motor expressions of our behavior. So conation is being accepted as the behavioral manifestations on the part of the given individual. Now, the psychological interpretations are focused on cognitive abilities or cognition and affection. We consider them the basic resource points, the basic elements that need to be expressed in action in order to be integrated and to give the picture of the specific psyche of the individuals. What is the psyche? The psyche is the subjective, stylized, interpretative angle of the individual to look at this world and deduce some meaning for him or her. But graphology, I find, has its focal lens on conation, the motor actions, the motor movements to deduce meaning from handwritings. So little bit of methodological differences are there, but graphology is being able to bring out the qualitative aspects of behavior which we really do not know looking at a person. in psychology, thus, we believe in two aspects of one's personality: the overt aspect and the covert aspect. The overt aspect is the persona, according to Carl Gustav Jung. Persona, and the covert aspect, the hidden aspect, is the shadow. Shadow is the primitive, inherited contents of personality. The persona is the product of society. Persona is the product of socialization processes that tells us how to behave externally, and thereby kills our original spontaneity of the responses, because the social demands are like that. If you feel jealous about anybody, if you are having some aggression regarding somebody, social norms expect, as a sophisticated person, you cannot openly acknowledge that. I can't stand you. If I say that, that would be taken as a weakness on my part, and it's an outside abuse to somebody, abuse that has been heard to somebody. That's why we need to keep it inside. But this shadow person, its shadow aspect of personality must be known in order to understand a personality in its total profile, and there psychoanalytical helps are needed. Sigmund Freud divided 3 layers of mind: the unconscious, preconscious, and the conscious mind. And the aim of psychoanalysis is to bring the unconscious into consciousness through verbalization. This verbalization is the cognitive aspect of behavior. The way we bring out the inner aspects of our mind and is being assessed and interpreted properly by a psychoanalyst, the person tries to have the picture of his or her own mind, but thereby decides how to present it, how to resolve certain inner concepts, the rustic, rough aspects of personality in order to be accepted as an adjusted person in a society. But that part should be known, otherwise you really do not know yourself properly. I also find the spiritual aspects of analysis, they also pinpoint to these inner aspects of behavior. There are so many very bright psychoanalysts who are established in society, but they fail to understand their own self in terms of the inner concepts. They have inhibitions there. I approve and acknowledge the contribution of the graphologies, because they help you to accept those aspects of your behavior and teach you how to use them in a social situation to maintain your persona. In psychoanalysis or in psychology, in order to know, in order to develop our insight into the hidden aspects of personality, we do use projective techniques. Projective techniques are specific types of psychological tests. The utility point is that, extra utility point is that, the purpose or intentions of the testing, it is not known to the subject. The nature of stimulus in projective techniques are such that the person who is participating in the testing process, they do not understand what we are going to measure, and thereby that inner aspect of behavior comes out. I consider graphology to be one of the most significant projective techniques. Graphological analysis can bring out the qualitative aspect of behavior which the quantitative analysis can never do. Hence, graphology should be accepted as a scientific approach, a scientific tool in order to know ourselves, adjust ourselves accordingly, having the flavor of your personality in your mind. The outer behavior will automatically be very sensitive, very congenial, and accepted by others in the situation. Conflicts would be less in life, and the life would be filled with senses of happiness and well-being. In today's context, I would like to prove this point by giving a brief review of a particular book. It is not a book, it's a psychodiagnostic manual written by none other than Mr. Mohan Bose, whom I consider to be one of the most successful and pioneer graphologists in India. The book by Mohan Bose is an excellent addition to the specialized area of graphology to understand the psychological underpinnings of handwriting analysis in relation to brain functioning. It has attempted to explain handwriting as essentially a motor function involving series of contractions as well as release movements, which essentially comes in sync with brain functioning. It banks on the basic assumption that in spite of handwriting being a learned activity dating back to one's school days, which gets converted into a habitual function with time, yet individuals develop a unique style which represents their personality features. This differentiates individuals from one another and accounts for their causal individual differences. This is true even for identical twins who tend to differ in their unique style of handwriting. Handwriting, being a projective measure, reflects the unconscious layers of mind through the nature of one's strokes and other associated features like presence of pen dots, script hitch, pen stroke waiver, etc. of the writer. Handwriting involves mastery of visuomotor perceptual functioning, which requires understanding of spatial correlates on the part of the writer. The spatial utility of handwriting on paper is determined by the concept of space within an individual, which is further influenced by the unconscious layer of his or her psyche. Each movement in writing an alphabet requires moving from I to U, that is, the environment at large. The vertical and horizontal movements involved in handwriting require navigations of how the individual relates from himself herself in relation to the environment. Different attributes of the handwritten stuff like size, shape, zone, middle, upper and lower, slant, infer the personality traits of the writer. As he has mentioned about this trait orientation in graphology of all four. The nature of the use of space in a page, margin and letters are of crucial significance in offering additional meaning to the personality dynamics of the writer. Further, insincerity, ambivalence in personality makeup can be inferred on the part of the writer based on his or her sample of handwriting. Crucial importance has been provided to the signature of the writer. The fact whether the writer has had ample time to write the sample and ended up in slowing writing can also be understood based on his or her sample of writing. In addition, self-control or spontaneity and how the ego releases or inhibits the individual can be understood based on regularity or fluctuation in the handwritten task. The general stroke pattern, the graphic arrangement of the words give information regarding the personality dynamics of the writer in an intriguing manner. Further, the book has its significance in describing the efficacy of motor energy, which serves as the decisive factor for psychological disorders. It focuses on determining the age of trauma of an individual based on one's projection in terms of handwriting. Bose talks about elucidating important psychological traits in individuals on the basis of one's handwriting sample. Some of them include streaks of anxiety, fear, worry, tension, mental disturbance of any kind, self-denial, self-coercion, masochistic tendencies, impulse control disturbances, disturbances in affect, hypersensitivity, and the like, which in psychology we call self-defenses. The major asset of this book lies in the establishment of graphological scales for different psychological disorders, because graphological analysis can pinpoint the balances and stability in personality together with imbalances in terms of disorders, diseases, or anomalies of various other kinds. It can speak of the mood disorders, mania, hypomania, depression, cyclic depression, reactive depression, dysthymia, cyclothymia, bipolar neurosis. Additionally, it can speak of anxiety disorders like phobia, panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorders particularly, and generalized anxiety disorder together with conversion disorders. This is a significant contribution, the diagnostic manual. Significant contribution to the field of psychology and has promising implication in terms of its scopes. Bose has also spoken about the pain dots, scripts, pen strokes, etc. in one's handwriting in different physical disorders like cardiac illnesses, endocrine problems, blood pressure, digestive ailments, joint pains, gynecological ailments, and the like. He has developed his thesis based on sound methodology, which is worthy of appreciation. The book seems to serve as an eye-opener for significant research in the field of graphology and psychodiagnostics alike, and is expected to trigger wide interest among students of psychology also and other enthusiasts of human behavior. In psychology, we have two diagnostic manuals. One is called DSM and the other one is called ICD, International Classification of Diseases, and Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. I do compare those manuals with that of the diagnostic manual as produced by Mr. Bose, though the quality or standard I do not equate with each other because their samples are quite large and Bose's sample is not that sufficient in order to earn its scientific name, its scientific fame, to have graphology as a very, very successful indicator as science that can be utilized in so many different areas of life. That is my final wish and hope, and the works for KIG to proceed in these lines to bring out the significance of this particular scientific approach is my wish. I hope there will